So today's webinar is being hosted by Adam Matthew Digital's North America Quartex sales team. My name is Katie Gambone, and I'm joined by my colleague Jessica Kowalski. Both Jessica and I have experience working in archives, and we love connecting with repositories and learning about your collections. We are certainly part of a much larger team here at Adam Matthew dedicated to Quartex. And that includes the Quartex development team, customer support, marketing, and more. To learn more about us and other members of the Quartex team, we encourage you to visit quartexcollections.com, which we've listed down here. Quartex is a digital collections platform from Adam Matthew Digital. For those of you who may be unfamiliar with Adam Matthew, we are an award-winning publisher of primary source content. The company is based out of the United Kingdom, and this year we are celebrating our 30th anniversary of curating and showcasing archival collections. Quartex is a cloud-based, fully hosted solution developed by Adam Matthew's skilled team of engineers. Unlike earlier versions of the digital collections platforms that our team has custom built, Quartex was crafted to allow our editorial team to be able to build collections from inception through publication independently without requiring intervention from programmers. As such, the administrative interface of Quartex is both intuitive and it has very simple workflows, which we'll show you today. Our editorial team is actually finishing the build now on one of Adam Matthew's first collections that will be published on Quartex this June. That collection will be Mass Observation, and it's a very interesting exploration of the history of Britain from 1989 to 2009, written by those who were living through it. So to learn more about Adam Matthew and our collections, I would encourage you to visit our website, which we've listed here for you. Adam Matthew has also developed Quartex so that it can be used independently by academic and cultural heritage institutions to publish digitized special collections and archives content from your own repositories. So since releasing our platform to a larger group of repositories mid-2018, so a little under 2 years ago, Quartex has grown to support a global client base that we're showing you here. Towson University is actually our newest Quartex customer, and we look forward to working with them over the next several months as they begin the migration process. Several of our clients have publicly available Quartex sites, and we would encourage you to visit their platforms and explore. Today, we'll actually be looking at a few of these sites. So we'll be looking at content on Loyola Marymount site, Baylor University, and McGill University site as well. As a digital collections platform, Quartex has two main capabilities. So the My Asset side of the platform is a data asset management system. Here you store your assets, catalog them, build collections, and more. On the other side, we have My Sites, which is our content management system side of the platform. And it's essentially where you manage all web publication. So here, administrative users can design their websites. This is also where you would be building your digital to actually look at My Sites. In Quartex, you're only ever managing a single instance of an asset. So the Oak Grove Farm creamery butter image here is our asset. And through a simple process, you can then publish that asset to multiple collections, as we have here with the Oak Grove Farm collection and the food collection. You can publish it to an unlimited amount of digital exhibits, and you can also share that on these assets on static content pages without ever needing to manage another instance of that asset. So in today's topic, we'll be focusing on building digital exhibits. For the purposes of this webinar, exhibit actually will refer to two things. So it is first a reference to a specific content block type that's available to you in the Quartex platform. And what I mean by that will become clear when we take a look at the administrative side of the platform. More broadly, though, we also refer to exhibits as a way to curate and showcase your collections. And the reasons why you might build an exhibit likely vary. So just some ideas. Exhibits allow us to curate our assets into collections that allow you to build bridges to your traditional user community, but also to connect with new ones. They can help you build what we call brand awareness, highlighting what distinguishes your institution's collections from other local or national repositories. It allows you to spotlight content, whether it's a longtime favorite of audiences or directing the community to an item that may be a bit more obscure in your collections. Exhibits can really be used to create a new narrative about any given topic. They can help us celebrate milestones such as institutional anniversaries or major historical events which your collections might document. They can help you connect with donors by celebrating new acquisitions or even to potentially fulfill the obligations of a grant that you may have received. They can be a tool that really helps you build partnerships across institutions who may have similar or complementary digitized content. Exhibits can also help us create guided learning experiences for faculty and researchers that aligns with academic priorities. So in this way, exhibits can almost serve as a LibGuide. And they certainly can help us communicate the value of our repository to senior leadership, board members, and other critical stakeholders. And there's certainly many, many more ways that we can use this tool to communicate our value. So let's take a look at some examples of Quartex exhibits in action. We're actually going to start by visiting Baylor University. Oh, here we go. Baylor launched their platform in early April, and they chose to start with a digital exhibit comprised exclusively of AV assets to showcase to their community the value of and capabilities of their digitization lab, which is the Ray I. Riley Digitization Center. So in Quartex, exhibits can accommodate both image-based collections as well as AV assets. And so if we click into Baylor's exhibit here, they've actually used each page of the exhibit to feature a video which highlights a different piece of technology in their lab, which makes their digital collections even possible. Baylor's Ray I. Riley Digitization Center supports a number of different repositories and collections on campus. So their ability to support the work of each of these repositories, as well as handle a variety of materials and content types, are clearly very important to them. And I think they've done a great job of documenting their technology, and I think it showcases in a really nice way here in this exhibit. Next, we'll actually jump over to McGill University site. McGill University also launched their Quartex platform earlier this month. They are using Quartex in a project-based approach to increase discoverability of key documents in their collections by applying our handwritten text recognition technology to their assets. But they're also using the platform as a tool for exhibiting their collections. And some of those collections may be assets that they're not even currently highlighting or hosting in Quartex. So here we see they have an exhibit, Food Riddles and Riddling Ways. In this context, their exhibit is certainly to augment a visitor's understanding of this particular collection and to connect visitors to other relevant resources. So they happen to have menus and other recipes from around the world that happen to also have riddles in them. And apparently this was a really fun thing that people did throughout history. So it's a very cool collection. I would invite you to certainly visit this. But we can see here they're actually connecting users to other information. So they've written about this particular project on the McGill University blog, which you can connect to here. If we go to scroll through some pages of their exhibit, they've also included pages in here that link to GitHub, where they have actually built an interactive way to see where each of these items is from on a map. And they've also actually, from GitHub, directly linked to this their exhibit that they built. So I thought that was an interesting thing that they've done. So what exactly is an exhibit in Quartex? For that, we're going to actually jump into the Quartex demo site. We'll take a look at this here. Exhibits are based on a Google Exhibits design. As I mentioned earlier, they can accommodate images, such as we saw with the McGill example, as well as AV assets, which we saw with the Baylor example. When you come into an exhibit, you have the option to provide visitors with a landing page, which is what we're looking at here. On the landing page, administrators can choose to use a logo if they want to, or none. They can also choose to have the exhibit title font be a solid color or watermarked, as we see here with the image, the first image of our exhibit. The image that watermarks the landing page can be the very first image of the exhibit, or it can actually be a completely different image. Once a visitor clicks into the exhibit, they are then guided through a curated experience in a sequence similar to that of a slideshow. So users can toggle through the exhibit using the left and right arrows at the bottom of the page, or they can actually hover over the numbers to get a preview of what's coming ahead. So we'll go ahead. You can actually then also click on these numbers and they'll take you directly to that page in the exhibit. On the left, once the visitor is actually in an asset, you can see here on the left-hand side of the page, they've provided some additional text. And certainly if you provide more text than sort of is available in the real estate available on that page, a scroll bar automatically will appear as you see here. Using the buttons at the center of the page, visitors can also change the page width. So you can go full screen or maybe just slightly larger. They can also see an optional and access an optional caption. And they can also be connected to related content. So this related content page can actually take a visitor directly to this particular asset in the Quartex system, or it can be used to point visitors to other websites that may actually have related content. I mentioned earlier that Quartex can accommodate AV assets in our exhibits. If you have, if an asset has been transcribed using our in-platform AV transcription service, visitors to the exhibit can also access that transcript through closed captioning, which you see here. And I've muted the video, and that's why we're not hearing Mr. Knowles speaking right now. So creating digital exhibits in Quartex is extremely simple. To show you how to do this, we're actually going to jump over to the administrative side of the Quartex demo site, which we're looking at now. I mentioned earlier that Quartex has two sides to it. So My Assets, which is the data asset management side of the platform, and My Sites, which is the web publishing side of the platform. So we're actually going to go directly into My Sites to build our exhibit. And you can see here it's password protected. So I'll go ahead and click into that. Give that a second to load. In Quartex, you can have multiple URLs or websites associated with a single license. So in other words, you can actually catalog and store all of your assets in one place, but then publish them to as many front-facing websites as you choose. And each of those websites can be designed to look completely different. So what we're looking at here is the fact that we actually have 5 different URLs or websites that are associated with our license here. So I'm going to go ahead and click into this particular site, which I think, pardon me, I want to pull up the back end, the actual front end of the platform, so you can sort of get a sense of what information on the back end means. We're going to go ahead and build our sample site in this version. And you can see here our site navigation listed here corresponds directly to our navigation across the top of our front-facing website. So to build a digital exhibit, you're simply going to go to your site navigation under Site Manager, and you're going to click Add Page. So to give you a sense of how to do this, I actually did put together a simple Word document so that I can just very quickly cut and paste. So give me just a second to get that set up here. So I'm just going to go ahead and add the title that I've selected to my page. And then to actually set up your exhibit, you're just going to select Exhibition Page for page type. You can have the exhibition page appear in the main navigation bar as a parent page if you would like to, or you can also select to have it be a child page, which then is going to appear beneath a selected page. So for this, I have built a sample digital exhibit earlier in the day, so I'm actually going to have it be a child page to that. And then you simply click Add. Once you have added your page, you can see if I click under here, here is my exhibit page. And to start building it, I'm simply going to click on Edit. So once you're in the editing platform, you're just going to go ahead and start adding your content. So I have designed a page properties description. This is helpful in terms of making your content discoverable through search engine optimization. And I'll go ahead and save that. What we're looking at here is actually the first page of the actual exhibit. So to begin our exhibit, we're just going to click Edit here. Now, as I mentioned earlier, you can choose to have a logo or not. I am going to add a logo, so I'm going to go to my media library and simply select the logo that I'd like to use. You can see it's shown here now. And I would like my logo to actually connect to an external link. So I'm just going to come back into my Word document and grab that URL and add it in. For my background image, I do want to have the first exhibit item to actually watermark. So I'm going to leave that selected. If I wanted to choose a different image, though, I would just click here and then go ahead and select that image from the media library. I can then go ahead and add all of the relevant content here that I need to. So I'll add my title. I do want my first image to watermark on my title as well. So I'll go ahead and click transparent title. If you didn't want to do that, the font would just appear black. For my subtitle, I've developed one of those as well. Just very quickly add that in. And then if I scroll down, I can also add my introduction text. I'm just going to paste that in here too. So if you did not want to have a title page for your exhibit, you don't have to. You would actually just click this here, and instead of coming into the landing page, visitors to your exhibit would actually just go directly into the slides. To begin building your slides, you can actually add assets from your media library, or you can pull assets from your My Assets side of the platform. To show you what that looks like, I'm going to go ahead and click My Assets. I know that I'm looking for an image specifically from this particular asset in the system. So I'm just going to enter it and run a search. When I pull it up, it will pull up every single page from that particular asset. And I think I want to use one that's a little bit later. So I'm going to scroll down here. I'm going to click this and select that as my image. And then I can go ahead and just start adding other relevant information. So I'm just going to add my caption really quick and my description really quick. And I do want visitors to connect to a related page. So for this particular asset, I want them to go directly to where I have this asset stored in Quartex. To add another slide, you would then click Add Item. And for this example, I'll show you that you can actually just pick assets from your media library. So I've connected into my media library. The image I want is here in this folder. I'll go ahead and add that. And then I have some supporting information that I'll go ahead and add. And for this related page URL, I'm actually going to connect them to an interesting YouTube video that I had. So now I've added all of the slides that I'd like to. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Save. And then if I wanted to preview what my exhibit looks like, I would just click on this preview button here. And we're going to go ahead and expand this so you can see what it looks like. So you can see all of the decisions that I've made on the back end are now very easily available here on the front end. If I go back into my sites manager then, you can see that my sample digital exhibit is not yet published, so it doesn't have the green indication that it's been published. So to do that, I would simply just click the Publish button here to add it. So that's how you would build a digital exhibit in Quartex. But certainly you can actually use this functionality in lots of different and more complicated ways using our web publishing tools. So for that, I'm going to actually turn it over to my colleague, Jessica.
Thank you, Katie. You may remember the slide from earlier in our conversation. As Katie mentioned, you can take a single asset and publish it across a Quartex site multiple times, or if you had multiple Quartex sites, you could publish it across multiple Quartex sites. Katie also just showed you how to include an asset in what we call an exhibition on Quartex. And we understand that exhibits are more than just a slideshow. Digital exhibits are an opportunity to make connections among content, materials, repositories, and perhaps even institutions. They are about creating an experience with users to engage with an item or your institution or community. And so what we're going to do now is show you how you can use an asset or any other image to build out more complex pages that you can then use to either break down lengthy slideshows, provide narratives, and add supporting or editorial content to your exhibits and conversations. And there we go. So A to Z lists are just one item in the toolbox that we have for you to organize information on Quartex. You can use it for biographies, as you hear in this example, that's actually from the Quartex demo site. And as you can see here with Loyola Marymount University, they've chosen to use it to display their collections in an alphabetical list. Essentially anything that you can organize alphabetically can be listed this way. Your staff contact information, LibGuides. We even have one customer that's considering using the A to Z list for all their branches within their county system, county library system, in order to display them. And while you mainly see text here, you can also choose to include photos, or Loyola Marymount could choose to add in links that go directly into these collections if they'd like, or elsewhere to the web. Now, Quartex allows you to build pages with content blocks, similar to what you just saw with the exhibition slide. These content blocks for these static pages include banners, text boxes, text with thumbnail images, carousel images, just thumbnails, even iframes. Content pages can be long and complicated or as short and simple as you need them to be. There aren't any limits on their use and how many times you can use them. So what we're going to do now is just jump into Loyola Marymount University's site and take a look at what they're doing. So we'll take a look at that A to Z list. Ooh, it looks like I might have opened it multiple times. Just get rid of that. So we're going to go here and take a look at their collections. And if we click on collections here, we'll actually find that A to Z list that I just mentioned that lists out all the collections at Loyola Marymount University. What we're actually going to do is we're going to take a look at one of their collection pages and see how they've built it out. So they're using a banner with heading text to introduce their collection. They have a carousel of images here, and they've provided alt text. And if you click on one of these images, it will actually direct you straight to the asset itself within Quartex, or you can simply go in and just browse the collection. And if we scroll down just a little bit more, they've provided some more information about the collection, as well as some related resources. And this related resource is actually the finding aid for the collection that's hosted on the California Digital Library. And so there's one more thing. We just noticed actually really late last night that Loyola Marymount is in the midst of building an exhibit on their page. And so we're going to give you a sneak peek, and hopefully it works, because we weren't really anticipating on having this today. So we're actually quite excited. And Loyola Marymount is doing something really kind of fun and different that we haven't seen with our exhibits. They're using exhibits within exhibits in order to build out something a bit more complicated. So we see here that they're building an exhibit on art therapy. Again, we just noticed this on the Loyola Marymount site. It actually looked different when I looked at it 11:30 last night versus 11:30 right now. And so this is something that's still a project. They're still creating this. So, well, you know, it's not yet complete. So just keep that in mind. So what they've done is each section actually highlights what I'm assuming is a different artist or collection of work that they're using to discuss art therapy. And so we can go here and see their thumbnails, but they haven't yet added in, you know, the supporting text. They're doing that as they go along. And so we're really excited to see how this is going to look once it's complete. And we'll be happy to share that information with everyone once we have it. We can take a look at another one of their sections that they're building out. So you can see that it's still in the early works, but it's quite beautiful. And so we're happy to see them using our exhibition function. Now, there are some other options that you can use when considering building pages within Quartex, and that's what we'd take a look at this time. I've built a site myself earlier this week, and I want to do a disclaimer that I do not anticipate an award for my design, but I was able to create all this content on my own with my minimal technical expertise. And so I wanted to take a moment to share some other ideas that I have for you in order to give you an idea or a taste of the kinds of pages that you can build in Quartex to support your exhibitions. And sorry, I couldn't get that link to work, so I pre-uploaded it. I'm just gonna go in and find it. Here we are. So here's me, my colleague Katie, and our colleague Anne-Marie at the Digital Library Federation Conference in Tampa. And I have some links down here on our homepage to our current partners' sites that are live, but we're going to just jump up here into the exhibits. And I have some introductory text here, and And what I really want to show you is down here. So I've created an exhibit within an exhibit, if you will. I have links out to 3 different exhibits that are live on Quartex, and maybe I'll add in Loyola Marymount here. But the idea here is that you can, this is just an example, you can choose this layout to break up a larger exhibition into chunks. For example, if you want to spotlight content on Picasso, you could have 3 different exhibitions, one on his early career, one during his blue period, one during his rose period. And if you wanted to add in a 4th thumbnail, you could do so and perhaps, have a section on current perspectives and opinions of Picasso. Or perhaps you're saying, Jessica, what if I want to organize my content in a linear fashion? And you can do that as well. You would just use a different kind of content block. So here we had seen Loyola Marymount University and their use of the text with a carousel image next to it. And what I've done is I've just taken that multiple times and taken the same content as these thumbnails here and just laid them out in a different way. So if you wanted to break down an exhibit or with different thematics within it, you can do so this way. But you don't just have to use the exhibition slides that we showed you. You can also include so much more, such as videos, essays, surveys. The McGill exhibit that we looked at earlier, they actually have a blog that's hosted outside of Quartex that they could very well build within Quartex itself. So I'm going to just scroll down here to show you an example of, again, not an award-winning site, but something that it could look like. So this is my blog that I created, and here you can see I've actually inserted a survey that I created within Microsoft Forms, and I was able to insert it on the Quartex page using an iframe. If you're unfamiliar with iframes, they allow you to insert all sorts of materials that are hosted on another source on the web. Here is just an example of a survey. And if I scroll down just a little bit more, we actually have an example of inserting a video from YouTube. This is a video of our webinar on full text search that we had last week. It's now up on YouTube, so if you'd like to have a look, let me know and I'll send you the link. But you can use iframes to insert anything else, maps, documents, interactive media. You can get really, really creative. And then down here, I just have an example of an image. So this isn't meant to be an exhaustive list, but rather just a sampling of some of the ways we envision using the tools on Quartex to build dynamic sites to support the content that you're highlighting in your exhibition slideshows. And with that, I'll jump back into the PowerPoint. Let's see here. So what else is down the pike for us? Well, we mentioned in the beginning of this presentation that Quartex is designed for a range of repository needs and also for Adam Matthew Digital. And we understand as both a publisher and a partner that we need to continue innovating and bringing new ways for users to engage their communities with information. And one of the first additional features that we anticipate in releasing by the start of 2021 or the end of this year are timelines. And while this work has not yet been completed, our tech team anticipates it will operate much in the same manner as we just saw with the exhibition slideshow and just building content blocks on top of one another. And it will also include the ability to link out to other content. And while it's not currently live, I can show you a wireframe. This wireframe is an example of some work that we've been doing with our partner, University of Toronto, Mississauga. And University of Toronto, Mississauga, UTM, had a faculty member that needed to publish some research on a project that they were working on called Visualizing the Americas. And the faculty member was trying to do this on their own, but they approached the library for help, like a smart faculty member should. And they had a solution. They said, hey, we have Quartex and you can publish sites on here. Let's work with you and Quartex and make this happen. And so from our partnership, with the faculty member in UTM, we have built out, and I just keep on scrolling down. This is what a page will look like in Quartex for this particular project. And we have a timeline feature that will also be included as Quartex as a result of this collaboration. And so you can see here, it will be just small content blocks built on top of one another. Some will be able to have the ability to expand with more information. There'll likely be images included in that and link out elsewhere onto the web. But this is just a wireframe, so if I click on anything else, it won't work. So I'll leave it there, and if you'd like more information on the project, we're happy to discuss that as well. And then let's come back. So another item that's a bit further down on our roadmap, so timelines, late 2020, early 2021, maps is something else that we'd really like to include. I do want to remind you, I did mention iframes, so you can include a map now on Quartex on a static page with an iframe. That's not a problem at all, but we would like to have something integrated into Quartex itself. Pictured here is a bespoke map that we created for our partner Shakespeare's Globe and their Red Not Dead project based in London. And so we're going to take a look at this. Hopefully it works. Their site is not yet published, so this is a bit of a sneak peek. And sorry, my connection's just lagging a little bit. All right, it worked. So I am going to go into here and show you their map that they're working on. Right now, oops. There we go. I think Katie and I were both in here trying to help me out. Thank you. So they anticipate on releasing their site once this project is complete. What they're working on right now is mapping out locations in which Shakespeare's plays were performed during a particular period of time. And so if we go to this timeline here, we can slide, and you'll see that the locations change as we move about our timeline. And if we hover over, we'll get a little bit more information on some based on the key down here. We've recently had conversations with another customer who's interested in building something similar, and part of their project will include information on each location that will have photos and links to other places within Quartex. And as I mentioned, this specifically is a bespoke solution created to meet a specific customer need. So the solution that we create with the geomapping may not include the timeline, but it will include things that can link out to other places within Quartex, ideally. So back into our PowerPoint, what's next after that? Well, we'd love to hear from you. If you have a particular need for which you're seeking a solution, we'd love to have a discussion to see if we can help. We have a really robust roadmap, and this isn't our actual roadmap, but at times it can feel a bit like this. There's so many things out there that would love to go and incorporate into Quartex immediately right now, but it's just not possible for us to do everything at once. And as such, we work really hard with our customers to gain their feedback, with prospective customers to gain their feedback, and anyone that's willing to talk to us really from the market and understand what you need and what you want so that we can prioritize our roadmap accordingly. And your feedback directly helps us to develop our roadmap to create a more meaningful Quartex, not just for you, but for all your colleagues using Quartex as their digital collections platform. And so I know, we have about 15 minutes left and we're about to hop into the Q&A. We really hope that you found this conversation interesting and that you're excited to use digital exhibits to complement your collections. Hopefully, we see more people going from the never or 1 to 2 times to maybe creating something every other month or every month if you'd like. We'd love to hear more about the projects that you have going on at your institutions. And, we want to mention some of the services that we can offer. One is a 20-minute creativity workshop to consult on a project. If you have an issue that you're encountering and you're trying to figure out a way to solve it, we're happy to consult and use our expertise or connect you with others. We also offer personalized demonstrations that are designed to fit specifically the needs of your institution, and we can arrange those at a time that works for you and your colleagues. And we can also provide consultation on bespoke project needs, such as that map with integrated timelines. So this is Katie and I and our information here, and now we'll open up the floor to you for some Q&A. And I think we can jump into, there was a question earlier about customizing the CSS of exhibits. So Quartex was designed to not need any additional technical expertise. And as such, the exhibition slideshow was made to make it really easy. And you can use your photos and your images to give it its own look and feel. You can use the static pages to also change the look and feel of your exhibition as well, if you wanted to break it down in another way. And then there's also the option, with a Quartex subscription, you get one URL. But if you wanted to have a separate URL, you can. We're able to do that. There is a small fee for it, but you could have a whole different site with a whole different style sheet than your main Quartex site. So if that's something that you'd be interested in, we can certainly do that. We have one customer that's speaking to us about that because they want to celebrate a 100th anniversary and they want everything to look different. So
is now exiting.
Goodbye. So there are some options and we can speak to you specifically. Another thing though that we do like to say is if there's something that you want to customize, let us know what it is, because maybe it's something that other people want and it's something that we can include to be inherent within Quartex that we can then offer to everyone. So it's really about us having a conversation and understanding your needs to make that happen. Any other questions? Find the little chat box. We'll give it another moment.
You're also welcome to unmute your phone line if you prefer to just shout your question out. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. I think that is the conclusion of our webinar, and we just really appreciate your time, and please reach out to us if you'd like additional information.
Thank you much. I hope everyone has a great day.
Thank you.